Last time I did this, it didn't go so well. Maybe it was because I was doing makeup and I was doing too much. So let me give you a rough rundown of why I decided to leave organized religion as a whole. I'm testing a camera, so while we're here, maybe let's just go over a little story about how I deconstructed. And I just wanted to run a little quick test because I got a new lens, and this one scares me a lot because, I don't know, it just does, but I'm trying to up my TikTok game. So this is going to be like high quality, high definition JeGaysus. Where to start? Okay, so I was at summer camp and I had a revelation that hit me. My deconstruction story is a little bit different from everyone else because while most people focus on hell or learning to love themselves, I mean, like, God forbid, I was gay and I probably should have leaned into that being part of my deconstruction story, but no, I wanted to be the best gay Christian. So that's not what made me leave the church. Even when there was so much hate around me, I figured I'm gonna beat them. The thing that disturbed me most was when I was in church camp listening to a sermon and the pastor that day was preaching on heaven. And there's a long version, you can go find it on my YouTube. But I'll give you the brief rundown here. That doesn't have to do with all the bridges I made because I was making bridges. I was making connections left and right and up and down, being like, oh God, what does this story mean? If we add this story together with this story, no wonder. But I'll spare you that and we'll do a quick version for Christmas. Why am I nervous? I'm like so nervous because I can't really see myself. I didn't flip open the monitor. I just hoped to God I'm on camera. But basically it went like this. God created what would be a perfect world with Adam and Eve and messed it up by giving them free will. God forever has been regretting that choice. In the evangelical viewpoint, it all has to do with how the religion starts and then progresses to view heaven. I need to specify I'm talking about American Christian evangelicalism. That is very key. God creates this perfect world in 7 days and puts on it Adam. And then we see, well, it's not quite perfect. He needs a helper. We get Eve. All's fine and dandy. Here he has creations who are going to love him forever and ever. But then it all goes wrong because he gave them free will. They gain knowledge that puts them equal to God, knowing right from wrong, which means they can make independent decisions. That was never the goal. That was the one thing he wanted to keep them away from. So now humanity's been ruined, and we see him regret that throughout the rest of the story. The whole Bible, he's just regretting humans left and right. Think of Noah and the flood, where he wanted to get rid of all humanity because he regretted them so much. Still, because these were his creation and he loved them, he had to keep them on that little boat and gave one family the chance to repopulate the entire world, even though the Nephilim were there before and in the days after, which means he didn't fix the problem. Here he has a creation that hates him, when creation was only created to worship him. And the one thing standing in the way of all of that is free will. And as this guy was describing heaven and how we'll be there singing his praises forever and ever, it hit me in that moment, heaven doesn't have free will. That is God undoing his biggest mistake. And if we look to the flood, it's like a metaphor for how the end of the world, the apocalyptic vision, will come as well. Because it says that there will be a new earth and a new heaven. Because even heaven isn't safe in this evangelical worldview. No, if we go with the belief that Satan led an uprising against God and a third of the angels followed him, becoming demons, firstly, we must ask, why did they hate God so much? Secondly, we must ask, if angels can be kicked out of heaven, then even the agents of God aren't perfect. They're operating with free will just like humans. So now we have angels that can destroy and disrupt God, humans who can disobey God, and God wants to get rid of all of it and start again, because his intention was to forever be loved and forever be worshipped. In the Bible, after Jesus comes, the apocalyptic story says that earth and heaven will be destroyed. There will be 1,000 years on the new earth in preparation for a kingdom where we will be singing his praises forever and ever. Sounds like God wants a whole bunch of robots. He messed up by giving us free will in the first place, so he's gonna remove that free will in heaven, where he gets exactly what he wants. Endless love with no questions, no personalities, no people to contest with, just worship constantly. that doesn't sound like a very good guy, at least not in the evangelical American interpretation, because as I said, it's very specific. We don't see this in the Bible. This isn't necessarily biblical canon, because as we know, Satan isn't really in the Bible. Hell isn't really in the Bible. The kingdom is much more metaphorical in the Bible. The flood of Noah never happened, neither did the Exodus. So all these things are pointing to a different kind of Christianity that maybe you can interpret in a different way, but the evangelical robotic heaven sounded exactly like hell to me. And it was at that moment that I realized I can't be a part of this religion anymore. What am I fighting for? I'm fighting for an afterlife where I can be controlled and no longer be me? That doesn't sound like an afterlife I want to be a part of. And it was in that moment that my faith was destroyed. It was in that moment when I was alone at 15 that I decided to start deconstructing, start asking questions, start putting different stories together, which, like I said, if you want to watch my longer video, you can see, and I go through the entire process while doing some pretty fabulous makeup, if I do say so myself. So what do you think? Are you ready for an eternity of worship, 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 and nothing else? Or did you think he got it right when he made free will in the first place? Or do you think the options are really endless robotic worship or torture? And then you have to ask yourself, why did Satan disagree with God in the first place? If we're supposed to believe that he was kicked out of heaven and fell, not in the Bible. Why? What do you think they're fighting about? What does Satan know that disturbed him so greatly that he had to leave? Anyway, happy deconstruction, Merry Christmas. Hopefully this lens worked. And maybe I'll be doing more high quality things and skits once I get a hang of how to use my camera. It's color grading and there's a lot of settings and lighting I just don't know how to use yet.